Peter Valley, FBAmastery.com. You guys, in this video, I'm going to cover how to get the maximum amount of value out of a site called booksalefinder.com, which you can use to find library book sales as well as other book sources. It's a fantastic resource, been around forever, and ignore what the slide says here. I'm actually going to teach you 7 tricks to get the most value from Book Sale Finder. So what is booksalefinder.com? This is a website that's been around since the dark ages. It's literally been around since 1997. It's one of the OG original book sourcing resources. It has spawned countless Amazon sellers, and I'm not even sure if newer sellers are even very familiar with Book Sale Finder, and they should be, and you should be if you're not already. All Book Sale Finder does is one thing that does it very, very well. It aggregates library-based book sources. That's it. Scheduled sales, bookstores, and ongoing sales all in one place. Again, this is the legendary OG website, and there are some tricks to use Book Sale Finder that took me years to figure out, and that's what I'm going to teach you in this video. Okay, so if you're not familiar, here's what it looks like. It's just a very simple map. This site looks like it hasn't been updated in 20 years, and when you actually go back in the Wayback Machine, you know, the Internet Archive, you can view old snapshots of sites. It literally almost hasn't been updated in 20 years, which I respect completely. They do one thing and do it well, and they make no apologies about it. Okay, so here's the version, the bookseller version of when I was a kid, I had to walk 100 miles through the snow or whatever. Back in the day, when I got started selling Amazon, there were almost no resources for booksellers. Almost nothing. Book Sale Finder was almost all we had. And I would wake up every day and I would check Book Sale Finder. It was how I found most of my early book sources. And I would dare say Book Sale Finder, and this is my tribute, I want to pay homage to how much value they've given to the Amazon book selling world. I would suspect that Book Sale Finder has spawned thousands and thousands of Amazon sellers, particularly in those dark ages when it was really all we had. A lot of library book sales didn't even get advertised on the internet. Like if you wanted to find out about a book source, or at least a library source, you almost had to go to Book Sale Finder. So this is my homage to the legendary, timeless, again, 1997, you guys, been around, timeless website and resource for Amazon booksellers. Okay, when you talk about sourcing books from libraries to resell, we're talking about 3 things, and this is what Book Sale Finder aggregates. Number 1, the scheduled library sales, right? The big library sales that we all know about, the events, right? Then the ongoing sales, and these are sales that are happening all year round at libraries. They might have like a little cart of books or a couple shelves. These are the ongoing sales. And then 3, if you're fortunate enough to have one of these in your area, you know how awesome these are. The bookstores, the library bookstores. This is where a library has an actual bookstore built into the library. These are almost always a gold mine. And yes, Book Sale Finder does catalog those as well. So I got to give this mention because a lot of people, there's a lot of debate around library book sales. A lot of older sellers have sworn them off because they're too chaotic, they're too competitive. And you might be wondering, are library book sales still good sources? I would argue absolutely. How could you go wrong? It's a giant room full of books. Yes, they're extremely competitive, but the good news is your competition almost never has any idea what they're doing. Probably because they don't read FBAmastery.com, but they almost never have any idea what they're doing. So you can go to a library sale and there could be 50 other sellers there scanning books. You could still come out with a tidy profit. So if you've sworn off library book sales, I would encourage you to give them a second chance. They are timeless, and I'm a huge fan. But I have to get this out of the way. My name is Peter Valley. I've been selling on Amazon, as I said, since 2007. I'm a super uncool web guy to the website FBAmastery.com, and the reason I'm such a proponent of booksalefinder.com is the first book sources I ever frequented were library book sales. This is when I lived in Los Angeles. Book Sale Finder was there for me then, and it's there for me now, and that's why I love it so much. You guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I mean, just hit the button below. If you don't, bad things are going to happen. I'm going to send a pack of art school students dressed up as furry stuffed animals to your home and harass you if you don't do it. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to FBAmaster.com as well. Get on my email list, and you will find an article version of this website there as well. Let's get into it. Okay, trick number 1 to get the most value out of booksalefinder.com. And these aren't really tricks, you guys. These are just things that took me a while to figure out. Some slightly non-obvious ways to use booksalefinder.com. Number 1, set up to view on mobile. There is a secret, not so secret, but they don't really advertise it very well, mobile link that you must use in order for Book Sale Finder to be at all visible on mobile. So what happens is, if you just go to booksalefinder.com on your phone, or you click over from a link that you search from Google, it's going to open a shrunk down version of Book Sale Finder that is almost completely unusable. It's impossible to read. It does not go to a mobile view by default. This took me forever to figure out. I never used Book Sale Finder on my phone because it was just terrible. It was unusable. What I found out is there is a link they barely advertise it. It's like on some page you have to like click around to find on booksalefinder.com. You just put an M before booksalefinder.com. So you just bookmark this on your phone, like literally right now. Pick up your phone, m.booksalefinder.com. It is a mobile view. Believe me, you're going to thank me for this later. If you're anything like me, sometimes you just like picking out sources on the fly when you're just out around town, right? Pull up Book Sale Finder. It's going to be totally unusable unless you use this special link. And again, it's kind of weird. It doesn't default to this when you're on mobile, like most sites do. Like, they probably should fix that in my opinion. But anyway, moving on. That brings us to trick number 2. Once you've got the link figured out, you can actually search for all book sales, all book sources within a 100-mile radius on your phone. It asks for your location, and then it just, boom, just brings up a list. And this is so valuable because the booksalefinder.com, the desktop version, is a little bit difficult to navigate. We'll talk about that in a second. But having this option, you guys, this took me, I can't even tell you. I didn't even figure this out until like a year and a half ago or something. This took me years to figure. I've been using Book Sale Finder, again, 15 years. It took me 13 of them to figure this out. Trick number 3, also, you guys, I'm a slow learner. I'm slow to figure stuff out. I'm always the last to know. There is a book sale map on Book Sale Finder that I did not notice for over a decade. Okay, so here's how you find it. Just click on a state, and then you see this little icon right here. I'm not telling you guys, I'm embarrassed because a lot of you probably already know this. It took me forever to figure this out. It's very easy to miss this little tiny icon here that says book sale map. So here's what happens when you click on that. This is what I've been waiting for years, that I always wish Bookfinder would have, and I don't even know when this was released. Maybe I missed it because it didn't exist. It's a little bit limited what it can do. You can only search about roughly 2 weeks in advance. I think it's like 15 days. So that's kind of limiting, and there's no way around that as far as I can tell. But again, it allows you to zoom in, zoom out, see book sales in your area. As far as I can tell, also, this does not include anything other than actual scheduled library sales, not the ongoing sales, not the bookstores. There's a weird link here that says add bookstores to the map, but I've never been able to see any bookstores in this map. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that's what this different color is. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. But anyway, for scheduled sales, this is the way to go. The text-only list is much more difficult to navigate, in my opinion. Trick number 4 to get the most out of Book Sale Finder: sign up for their sale mail email list. So what this does is this basically automates the searching of library book sales. So what happens is you just enter your email address, your city, and your state, obviously your zip code, and then you tell Book Sale Finder how far you're willing to drive, and it will email you about book sales 1 week in advance. So the way we get to that is there's a link right at the top where it says sale mail. Click on that, and again, you enter all that info. And what I like about this is, unlike the mobile version where you're limited to a 100-mile radius, this, you can enter anything you want. You can say, hey, I'm willing to drive 5 hours, enter 300 miles, whatever you want. And the only major limitation about this that I don't really like is it only alerts you a week in advance. But anyway, I love this feature. Also didn't realize this existed for quite a while. So, and again, it just automates the searching. And I'll tell you this, even if you don't care about ongoing sales and you don't care about bookstores inside libraries, you just want the scheduled sales, you could basically sign up for sale mail and never look at the website. Trick number 5, and this is barely a trick, you guys. I don't want to insult your intelligence here, but there's Book Sale Finder can be very difficult to navigate. There's a lot going on. The layout is a little bit chaotic. So if you just care about scheduled library sales, I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's go back. And so again, you just click on a state. And then, so this is what I do. If I'm just in the mood where I just care about the scheduled sales, nothing else, you just look at this. So here's what happens, this box at the top. Now here's what happens otherwise. You'll start scrolling around. You'll be like, all right, well, there's bookstores, and then there's ongoing sales in a separate area. And all of these have the towns listed in alphabetical order, which in my opinion is not very helpful because you've got a town, a neighboring town called Alphaville, another neighboring town called Zyborg, and there's a million towns in between that you have to hack your way through just to find out. It's too chaotic, right? Alphabetizing the towns is not really helpful when you're trying to find sales in proximity or sources in proximity of you. So you got to hack through all this, and it's like, all right, well, here's the future sales. Well, what does that mean? That's kind of chaotically laid out. So it's like, and then you get all the way down here, and it's like, well, what is this? What am I looking at here? Are these bookstores? Are these ongoing sales? Are these library sales? You kind of have to figure out, like, what is it? It's a little bit chaotic. So again, if you just care about scheduled sales, you focus right here in this box, ignore everything else. And then if you want a broader date range, in other words, you want to look further than 2 months down the road, you click on future sales right here, and this will bring you to a much wider scope. And in fact, outside of what it'll show you at the top. So the top shows you the next 2 months, and then beyond that, so I'm recording this in December, so February, March, to find future sales. So this is what I mean. It's a little bit chaotic because it's confusing. You're like, well, okay, so this is the next 2 months, but then what about after that? Then you've got to go down here to jump ahead for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. So it's a little bit weird. And then it's like, well, why isn't everything in one place? And so that's the question that brings us to trick number 6, which is how to shortcut to the full list. And again, I'm so slow to basically everything. My IQ is probably in the mid double digits, admittedly. But I didn't figure this out for the longest time. It just was too confusing to me. The website's too jumbled. So what I figured out is, and again, any doofus could have figured this out, but it just took me a while, is how to find the full list. So let me show you that. And when I say full list, I mean all of the sources in one place. Because again, we're just looking at the scheduled sales here, and then this is a separate compartment for the bookstore. It's like, where's everything? I just want to see everything. You click on this link here where it says click to browse by city. That text is very confusing. This is why I missed it for so long. It should say click here to view all sources or all sales or all, but whatever. It should say anything other than this, but browse by city is just, now you click on that and it brings you down all the way down to the bottom where everything is aggregated. There's still a limitation of this that I don't like, which is it's alphabetized, which again is not a useful way to categorize this in my opinion, because again, Alphaville, Zyborg, there's a million towns in between. What if I just want to view what's in proximity to me? Well, of course, then you go back to the first one, which is the map that I talked about, right? That's the way to do that. But again, the map doesn't include bookstores. It doesn't include the ongoing sales. So then you really do have to come here, and it really is a little bit confusing. So if you're in a big state, it's like there could be, I think Texas is like 150 towns. So it's like, wow, well, you got to hack your way through all those. So that's why the mobile app is probably your best option, because this is it's just too much to hack through, unless you're in like, Rhode Island or something, and every town is within 30 miles. Okay, that brings us to our last trick, which is kind of an inverse way to use booksalefinder.com, which is to look for sales that are not on the site. If you can find a book sale through your own research that is not listed on Book Sale Finder, that is almost guaranteed to have minimal Amazon sellers attending it, because they just don't know about it. Because for a lot of, I should say most, I don't really know, but for a lot of Amazon sellers, their research in terms of library sales begins and ends on Book Sale Finder. So what that means is basically any book sale that's listed on Book Sale Finder is going to have tons of Amazon sellers. And any book sale that is not listed on Book Sale Finder, because Book Sale Finder does not have everything. Believe me, if you start doing your research, you'll be surprised at how many book sales do not end up on Book Sale Finder. So do your research, find sales that aren't on Book Sale Finder, and if you are in the position of either having multiple options, in other words, you got sales you could go to, and this is a privileged position to be in, but if you are in an area where you have multiple options, always choose the book sale that is not on booksalefinder.com. Always. Your competition will be diminished by 80-90%. And this is also useful for sellers who have just given up on book sales. And a lot of you have. I know you might not admit it. A lot of you watching this have given up on library book sales. If you've been around for a while, you find they're just too chaotic. They kind of are almost like it's almost like football practice sometimes, how crazy they can get, right? It's just, they're wild. And so you just gave up because the competition is too fierce. Well, guess what? I would encourage you to do your own research in your area, find book sales, and then cross-reference them with Book Sale Finder. If you find one that's not on Book Sale Finder, give it a chance. Even if you've given up on sales, give it a chance. Okay, guys, that's it. I have a 4-part mission for you now. Are you ready? Mission number 1, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Do it right now. Hit the button below this video. Mission number 2, get on my email list at fbamastery.com. There's a link below this video. Get all the free stuff you see here. Mission number 3, if you're selling on Amazon, you need an automated repricing tool. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. Your sales are suffering without it. I have a solution for you. It's called NeuroPrice, neuroprice.io. There's a link at the top of this page right now, as well as a link below this video. And lastly, take what you learned in this video and make some money with it. Go to booksalefinder.com right now, learn how to navigate it, start checking it regularly, get on the email list, do everything I talked about here. Thank you guys so much. This is Peter Valley signing off, and I'll see you guys in the next video.